Welcome to Dolphin Central Radio, and probably the best show that we have coming for you. I am Thomas Galicia, joined by my co-host Chris Cochran.
Go Dolphins!
What a win!
It was a good one. It was a fun one.
I mean, I'm still somewhat not over it.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, for one thing, the fact that that game came on the same week where I had to do my midseason awards and my team report card, midseason report card, and I mean that just sticks into me so much that I'm afraid that for the midseason report card, I'm going to skew the grades a little bit, and I do think it had a little effect on the midseason awards piece that I did.
Well, that makes you a bad grader then. If you were scared that you might get skewed because of that game.
I don't know. It's not being scared that I'll get skewed. It's it has nothing to do with that. I'm not afraid of anyone's reaction because let's be honest here, most of them are wrong. I'm more, just does it influence me a little bit too much? Does it influence me a little bit more? It's sort of like the teacher who sees who sees that this kid has been getting C's on his quizzes, but then on the big test gets an A, and
the midterm, he gets an A.
Yeah, midterm gets an A, and that gives him the B, and then all of a sudden it's a B plus one. Yeah, it still might be a C student. We don't know. And I don't even think the Dolphins realize how impressive they were, because look at what they were talking about after the game.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I mean the win was good. It was good to see, but I tuned it out at the end.
Why did you tune it out?
Because they just kept scoring. Like, I'm watching the game, and it's not competitive in the first half. And so I'm going to still watch it. And then in the fourth quarter, I just tuned it out. I don't know if that's probably a good thing that you're tuning out your Dolphins after a blowout win. But yeah, I tuned it out. I was like, okay, I don't need to watch anymore. Phillip Rivers isn't going to come back. Like, we talked about it during the game on how basically with Miami is what's going to eventually happen is Phillip Rivers is going to end up throwing the ball all over the place, and he actually got pulled.
And I thought the Dolphins were going to blow it in some way, at the very least, to make it competitive.
Yeah, it was probably their best game in years.
Oh, years. Easily. It was their first shutout since 2006 and their biggest margin of victory since 1995.
Yeah, it felt like they were a good team, like an elite team, like one of those New England. You know how like New England has those games where they just blow out opponents, and you're like,
they did. It was on right after the Dolphins game.
Yeah, I mean, no, like we goose egged them. Like that's what that win felt like. Was like, wow, this must what it feels like to be an elite team right now.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and it's just been so long because even that Patriots shutout, from what I remember back in 2006, that was not that good of a Dolphins team. It was just the defense laid the wood, and I think even one of the touchdowns were defensive in that game. Whereas this one, it was every single aspect of the game except for special teams.
Yeah, and so when you're watching it, like you have Landry tippy-toeing plays on the sideline. Tannehill, he's good for at least a couple 10-yard runs a game now.
Yeah.
You just got to watch out for his health, but I think that goes for anybody that's running with the football, whether it's a wide receiver, a quarterback, a running back.
They gave us a little scare on Sunday.
And they've been playing good, and so I hope that it continues into this upcoming Sunday, because if they could pull this off, man, I'm not saying Detroit's some elite team in the NFL, but it'll be a good road win.
A very solid road win against a team that's very similar to the Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, I guess statistically, I would say their defensive line is very similar to the Dolphins, but we even had we had that conversation, at the end of the Dolphin game. Who would you rather have right now, Tannehill or Stafford?
Yeah, I still said Stafford, and the reason why I'd rather have Stafford right now is I've seen him be a bit more consistent than I have seen from Ryan Tannehill. And also, not only do you have that, but also when Stafford succeeds, he succeeds wildly. However,
When he's bad, he's bad.
Oh, when he's bad, yes. However, there's also this. Would there be a difference in Calvin Johnson's statistics if you were to give him Ryan Tannehill instead of Matthew Stafford?
Uh, I don't think he'll have 1,800 yards because basically Stafford force-fed it to him for the past couple years. And I think Calvin Johnson is a large reason why Stafford's stats are the way they are. It's just obvious when you have a receiver like that. I don't have to go into the stats with him, but just his measurables alone, his height, his wingspan, everything about him makes your job easier as a quarterback. And if you don't have him, Matt Stafford looks like Chad Henne, a big arm quarterback.
Ooh. So in other words, are you saying that you take Tannehill over Stafford?
I would because I don't want to deal with that nonsense. Like if I'm getting Tannehill playing like this over the past couple weeks, where okay, I'll get one crappy game, but you know what? The games he plays well, it's not bad. He's not turning the ball over in these crappy games. Like he'll get his passes batted down, and he'll get one pick. But Stafford, man, when he's bad, like the dude hasn't even topped 60% completion. Like he's only done it a couple times in his career, and this is with Calvin Johnson on his team.
And it's not like the weapons around him are bad either. They're actually pretty good, other than Calvin Johnson.
This year they're good because he finally has a number 2, but he had Nate Burleson. I mean, I'm not saying these guys are good or not or bad. Like he had Nate Burleson, Ryan Broyles, but like it's just I think we get caught up and we fall in love with like Matthew Stafford, Jay Cutler, and we lose touch. Our eyes lie to us when we watch football. We get attached to these big plays that we forget what happens. We actually forget what happens. We lose perspective. We look at an individual play and use that as a giant sample size rather than looking at stats, the numbers that these quarterbacks, in this case Matt Stafford has, or even Detroit. Detroit's offense is a good offense, but it's a volume-based offense. He'll throw the ball 40-something times a game, but complete 20 of them for 300 yards.
Now, what does that have to do with this upcoming matchup between the two teams?
I feel
like I'm interviewing you.
Yeah, I feel confident with it. You have a team that can get to the quarterback versus a quarterback, who's risky. He'll have a good game. Yeah, he'll make that one play over Brent Grimes with Calvin Johnson. You're gonna be like, damn. Or you'll get frustrated with Cortland Finnegan getting a tackle broken by him with Golden Tate. But as long as you get to him, man, as long as you get to Stafford, like I feel confident just because of the defensive line alone. Like that's the only reason why I feel confident. Because we've seen it where they just dominate, where they take over games.
Well, you gotta have a good point. However, now here's where I bring up the point. When I say that these teams are almost mirror images of each other, I mean these teams are literally mirror images of each other because everything that you say can be used to beat the Lions.
Can be used to beat the Dolphins.
Can be used to beat the Dolphins. Because these are probably going to be the two best defensive lines in the NFL competing, not so much against each other, but against offensive lines that are, well, decent.
I can't hear. Can you hear me? I can't hear anybody. I can't hear anybody though. So if he's talking to me.
You can go ahead.
There we go. Now I hear it now.
You hear me because Thomas's mic's acting up, and I'm trying to unmute him. But go right ahead.
No, I couldn't hear what he said the past couple minutes.
Right. But go right ahead.
All right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. The Dolphins are, they are mirror images of each other, with the defensive line. The only thing is you have a new coordinator, and you have a new coordinator with in Detroit with you there, Brian?
I'm adding Thomas back. Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
I'll pretend like I'm listening.
Okay, let him get back in, then we'll go.
He's being re-added to the call, so I'm taking care of it. Tomas. He's loading up now. He's joining the call.
You hear me?
I hear
Yeah.
you now. There you go. You guys are back on. Have fun.
Hey, so Thomas, how do you feel about the running backs with Reggie Bush coming back? Obviously, you know what they have a Joik Bell, and now they have Theo Riddick as well. Are you even concerned about Reggie Bush coming back?
I'm not really as concerned as I would have been at the beginning of the season. Reggie Bush has not been that good for the Lions this year. I even went on the show, and as I was about to go on my usual, Reggie Bush is the type of running back that usually beats the Dolphins, but it's a bit different when you have Messi, Jenkins, and Wheeler at linebacker, and right as I was saying that, I was actually shut down by our guest on this show, Brandon Elisaglu, who was saying, well, Reggie Bush hasn't been that good this year when he's been healthy, and he has not been that healthy all that much this season. So Reggie Bush really doesn't worry me as much as he would have, maybe even a few weeks ago.
And also, true or false, is the Dolphins' offense better than the Lions' offense?
Is the Dolphins' offense better than the Lions' offense? Right now, I would say it's a push between the two. And I'm not talking statistically, but in terms of what they do, I would say right now it's a push.
I am shocked at the numbers that I'm looking at.
Yeah, I know they're insane. The Dolphins are the 9th highest scoring team in the NFL.
Yards per play, Dolphins have them by 10 spots.
Yeah,
No,
wow.
by 12. Detroit's at the bottom of the half in yards per play with 5.1, while Miami is finally above average. Finally above average.
If you really want to drop your jaw,
No, I
look at
don't.
their
I
average.
thought you said drawers.
No, jaw.
Oh, okay.
You should see the Dolphins' average margin of victory.
I'll have to look at that. But anyway, yeah. It's just,
It's 20.
Yeah, they had that over the past 3 games. It was 21 points a game.
No. For their 5 games this season that they won, 20 is their average margin of victory.
And these are reasons why I feel pretty good about it, and I felt good about it. I felt better about it now than I did in the beginning of the season, because
You always felt good about it. Well, I was always a bit scared about it.
Well, it's just everybody gets caught up in these quarterbacks and these big play guys, these big arm guys that we all played the schedule game in the beginning of the year where you're looking at the schedule. All right, basically we're judging a team's win and losses by the quarterbacks the teams are playing. That team is playing.
That's how Colin Cowherd does it.
And it's such a faulty thing that Joe Flacco. Are you scared of Joe Flacco? I'm
scared of the Ravens.
I'm not scared of exactly. I'm not scared of him. I'm scared of that defense and the way and their playing style. But yeah, let's go ahead and base a win and loss on the quarterbacks a team is playing. Now when it comes to Phillip Rivers, yes, I'm more terrified of him than I would be of Matt Stafford. But we get caught up in these big arm guys, man, these big arm quarterbacks who are just completely inefficient at what they do.
Yeah, that describes Stafford. At least Tannehill's not that. He's been efficient. And I even named him the Offensive Player of the Year, but I didn't name him my MVP. So let me give you the rundown of my Dolphins midseason awards, which I already published it on Bleacher Report, but I'll give you my rundown right now, anyways. And now I want to hear from you.
Okay.
Okay. So first off, who would you have as your best individual performance of the year so far?
Cam Wake.
In what game?
This first one.
Cam Wake?
Yeah.
In the first one? I went with Sean Moreno.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. You know what? I completely forgot he was on that team. He was on this team. Completely forgot.
Yeah. The first game against New England. All right. Most improved offensive player.
Ryan Tannehill.
I went with Lamar Miller.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, he's getting his carries are the same, but I guess the added offensive with the boasted up offensive line, he's getting to the ball to the second level.
He's showing better vision as well.
Yeah, And you know how we always make the argument, why is Daniel Thomas touching the ball? Or I guess in the past.
Mention for most improved player.
But like the one thing that makes Lamar Miller different this year is, if you remember last year and the year before, whenever he would run, he would always run for 1 yard. Like it would be a 1 or 2 yard, and you can't have that on first down because that makes it 2nd and 8 or 3rd and 8. Exactly. At least with Daniel Thomas, he would fall for 3 yards, 4 yards. Like he would fall. And so that's why I get why the Dolphins use Daniel Thomas. Even though fans want Lamar Miller, I mean, he's a better player.
He's a better player, more explosive, and he's showing that this year.
Yeah, he's not giving you the yards where you'll go 6 yards one play and then 2 yards.
Yeah, no, he's actually gaining yards now.
And that's what makes him a lot better this year, and you can see it.
Yes. Most improved defensive player. I know my answer.
I don't know.
Jelani Jenkins.
Okay, yes, because I'm sitting there. All right, Rashad Jones, he's just now came back. Brent Grimes is a Pro Bowler. We know what Cam Wake is. We know what Vernon is, and basically you have Ellerby who's out, Macy who's been in and out of the lineup. It has to be Jelani Jenkins.
Yeah, it's Jelani Jenkins. Also, now offensive rookie of the year. This one was a tough one for me.
Offensive rookie of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Easy. I don't think it's Jarvis Landry.
I was debating that, but then the more I really looked at everything, and I even laid this out in the
because it's Juwan James.
Yes. It's Juwan James. He's had the bigger impact, and he's been very good all season. Defensive rookie of the year is Chris McCain, but we can move on from that because there aren't any other rookies that have had the impact that he's had.
Yeah, comeback player of the year?
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. Is this on both sides of the ball?
Yeah, this goes for both sides of the ball. I didn't break that up into offense or defense.
Comeback player of the year. It's definitely not Brandon Fields. It's definitely not Caleb Sturgis. Would you say Mike Wallace?
I didn't even have him as an honorable mention. I went with Cortland Finnegan.
Okay, so you're referring to signed players as well.
No, it was overall.
Okay, because I was thinking of players, I guess, that stayed with the team from last year. That's why I mentioned Wallace.
It was overall, and someone in the chat actually is mentioning Gibson, and he was an honorable mention for me as well.
He's been benched.
Yeah, but he's had his.
He's been benched. He's been benched.
Best game of the year.
I would say. Man, you have the New England game, but that was one half of really good football.
Come on, this is easy.
Yeah, it's last game.
Yeah. There we go.
It's last game. Because because it's last game, but I'm not sure if you actually included this game in your stat in your.
I did.
Okay, it's definitely last game.
Anything
then.
In the first 8. All right.
Hey, what's the best second half you've seen this year?
Oh no, best second half was New England.
Okay.
Although they've actually been pretty good in most of the second halves they've played.
Yeah, they've always had one good half, and I texted you before the game. All right, judging by our Tannehill logic, he's gonna have a really bad San Diego game. Like because he had a good it's like just by the numbers, he's gonna have a really good game or a really bad game based off his performance, or a really good first half.
Yeah, you were saying. Yeah, we were both thinking he's gonna have a bad second half, and that's bad on us.
We're bad because we know everything about sports, so that's why we
because we're such experts.
We predicted it
with our hot takes. Anyway, special teams player of the year.
Landry.
Yeah, that's what I went with too.
Because I know you're not gonna tell me some random gunner. Like you're not gonna tell me a gunner. Like look at the way he's gunning down the field.
No, it's not Trustnick. It's or Michael Thomas. Yeah, I went with Landry. Obviously, it's not gonna be Fields or Sturgis. Defensive player of the year.
Brent Grimes. Cam Wake.
Cam Wake.
Okay,
Either one.
Because Brent Grimes been crazy this past couple of games.
He has.
Him and Bay, man, I feel bad for him.
Why is that?
He's got his Bay, like, wanting to play with his footballs.
There is absolutely nothing to feel bad for in that situation.
He's got to go through with it.
Somehow I don't think he minds. But anyways.
He married her. He married her and has kids with her, so he doesn't mind, but...
Anyway, she would be great to have on the show. Just throwing that out there right now. Miko, if you're listening, we would love to have you on the show. Offensive Player of the Year.
Brandon Albert.
Whoa.
How many awards do you have? I feel like
10. Actually 11.
I feel like you already asked me this question, and I'm just giving you a different answer right now.
No, I have 11, and you can read them all in my piece on Bleacher Report. I published it yesterday.
Offensive Player of the Year.
It's your Offensive Player of the Year.
I would say Albert.
All right. Why Brandon Albert?
Because he fills a need that this team needed badly going back to last year, and I have no complaints over how he's played.
All right. I went with Ryan Tannehill.
Really?
Yes.
Why is that?
Because as he's gone, so has the team, so has the offense.
So it's a quarterback-driven league.
Yeah, I went with that, but I will also name my I will also give you my my honorable mentions.
What are your give me all your mentions?
Okay, the honorable mentions. Brandon Albert is actually one of them. Lamar Miller and Mike Wallace are the other two.
Even though Wallace has been force-fed like crazy.
Yes. He's done the work.
I trust me. I think he deserves it. I mean, I'm so happy. I want him involved in the offense.
Yeah. And finally, my MVP and your MVP. Let me ask you your MVP.
Of the team this year?
Yes.
It's going to be on the defensive side of the ball. Kevin Coyle.
Ooh. That's almost a good one. I'm only referring to players. However, I will say this, there has been some growth with this Dolphins coaching staff.
And you hate him. And you hate him.
I don't hate anybody. I don't hate anybody. I'm just hypercritical of them.
You're the one calling for jobs. You're the job caller guy who just wants people fired at the end of the games.
No. I say they're not the right fit. However, they have grown throughout the season. They're not as good as they should be. I still have my reservations about Coyle and Philbin, and I've had some about Laser here and there, but they have grown as play callers. They have grown in terms of discipline, and I mean, I gave them an A+ on Sunday.
You better.
I gave them an A+ on Sunday, and it was easy for me to do. And here's the thing. I was even thinking in the back of my head, is there any way I can not give them an A+? Is there any kind of nitpick I can make where it's like, oh, well, they were all right. No, they got an A+.
Yeah, I mean, they better. They were. The hell are you doing? It was their best football game in years.
Yeah, keep in mind for the Bears game, I think I gave them a D. So, no, but I gave them the A+. And, as far as Kevin Coyle being the MVP, the thing is it's most valuable player, not most valuable coach.
You didn't say it.
What?
You just said MVP, and I'm giving you my MVP. Coyle. Speed package.
It's player, not coach, not MVC. It's MVP.
Not number one ranked defense in the league.
Okay, but who's the leader of that defense?
Huh.
On the field. Remember, Coyle doesn't even coach on the sidelines. He coaches up on the box.
I would say Cam Wake.
Yeah, so that's why I picked two. And let me. I'm actually going to read this to you. What I said.
What did you say?
Okay. This was a tough call, but not as tough a call as I originally thought. Most valuable player is an award that goes to a player that the team simply could not function without.
And we've seen the Dolphins not function without Cam Wake. This is last year I'm talking about.
In analyzing Wake versus Tannehill for this award, with 3 other players getting honorable mentions, I had to think about the impact the team each would have if they were gone. With Tannehill, it would be a huge offensive impact, as the read option runs would be eliminated and the offense would get more conservative with Matt Moore in his place. However, you could build an adequate offense around Moore. It wouldn't be as explosive, but it could get the job done. I didn't add those inflections on there, but,
you know what I wish they had? They have it in baseball, and they actually have it in fantasy football now, but like a wins added feature.
I think they do somewhere.
It's too hard to do.
It's hard to do because you also have to figure out the wins added from the offensive linemen and
whatnot.
You
got 11 guys you got to worry about.
Yeah.
And and you could sit here and create an offense. I guess with Matt Moore, it won't be as explosive. I
think it would be adequate.
Yeah, it would be okay, but at least with Cam Wake, there's no pressure on the quarterback.
Well, that's where
with a 4-man blitz.
Here's the next thing I'm about to say. Now imagine Miami's defense without Cameron Wake. You could bring up the argument that we get to see more of Deion Jordan, and while that would be a good thing and something we should see anyways, Jordan doesn't quite have the same effect as Wake. More attention would be paid to Jared Odrick and Olivier Vernon. Could Vernon handle double teams the same way Wake can? I really don't want to have to find this out anytime in the next 5 years. How would Derek Shelby fare without Wake rushing from the other side? Is he as effective? What about the linebackers in the secondary? Both units have played well, and the secondary is one of the most underrated defensive backfields in the NFL, but you can't underestimate the Wake effect. Cameron Wake is the most important player on the Miami Dolphins right now, and he's played his position better than anyone else on the team has played theirs. To quote Kevin Durant, Cameron Wake, you the real MVP.
Thank you for that.
Yes. And now we are being joined from Lions Central Radio, as well as Bleacher Report's game day correspondent for the Detroit Lions, Brandon Alusigu. Brandon, how's it going?
Hey, gentlemen. Sorry about the technical difficulties. You never know.
Yeah, no, that happens here on this end too. So before we get into this preview with the Detroit Lions, why don't you, for the Dolphins listeners at home, why don't you explain, give us a little summary of the Lions season so far?
Well, it's been mostly up. That's something we can usually say in Detroit. It's there have been a lot of injuries. The defense has really helped this team weather the storm, as it were. They had the number one defense. They're great against the rush. Their secondary it has some good pieces, but it's all about that front seven. Terrell Austin, the new defensive coordinator, creates a lot of pressure, creates a lot of havoc, and that's really helped keep the opponents from scoring too many points, as I'm sure you guys well know, and anybody who has Calvin Johnson on their fantasy team, he's only been truly effective in about 2, maybe 3 games. So Golden Tate's been the hero so far. The wild comebacks is not something that are very sustainable, but hopefully moving forward as this team gets back a couple tight ends, Calvin Johnson, and hopefully the right tackle, Adrian Waddle, the offense will be able to at least raise up the bar to mediocre.
Now, outside of Calvin Johnson, who else are the Lions counting on getting back for this week against the Dolphins?
Well, as you know, there hasn't been too many practices. I'm sure your audience knows you record this on a Wednesday. As of now, Joseph Foria, the big tight end, the 6'7" red zone threat, which has really been an underrated injury for Detroit. He's the guy, he had 7 touchdowns as an undrafted free agent. So having him back, he's practicing again. He supposedly hurt himself 5 weeks ago in a dog training, house training accident. That's the official story. I don't know what the real one is, and I'm not going to ask. But Adrian Waddle, I'm not sure. I think it's probably best that we stick to the cute little husky he has on his Twitter profile. But right tackle Adrian Waddle should help this offensive line. It's been atrocious this year, and he's not going to fix everything. And it's apart from him, maybe Eric Ebron, maybe Brandon Pettigrew. Oh, and of course, Kyle Van Noy. Forgot about him. Second-round pick, linebacker will be a new shiny toy for that defense to run with.
All right, now We've talked about on the show how both of these teams are very similar to each other, especially in how they were built. Now, if you were to compare the two offensive lines, since they will both be facing off against two of the best defensive lines in the NFL, which offensive line do you think could hold up better throughout the game?
That's a really good question. I kind of I'd probably need some more research on that. As far as Dolphins' offensive line has at least been opening holes. I think was he? I can't think. The name is escaping me. But he's averaged what 4.9 yards per rush.
Lamar Miller.
Yeah, exactly. I kept thinking no Sean Morano, but yeah, sadly you guys are dealing with your own injury woes. If I have to go over the test of time, I have to trust Detroit's just a little bit more because I've seen it from them. But I think that Miami has a better rushing offensive line, which could be very key in this game since that's a big part of that balanced Dolphins offense in Detroit. Well, they can't run the ball to save their life.
How do you feel about Joe Lombardi as the coordinator compared to Linehan last year?
Well, he's catching a lot of guff right now on Twitter and everywhere. I think anytime you lose, 4 or 5 of your top pass catchers for multiple weeks at a time, your offensive line regresses, you're going to have some problems. He hasn't been very creative as far as attacking downfield. And again, I think it has to do with the offensive line. The thing that we would like for him to do as supporters of the team, or at least the public would like him to do, is maybe simplify the offensive line blocking schemes. And that's, I think, where he's failing. But we'll get a better sense of that once Calvin Johnson comes back.
And the over-under right now is a 48. Are you anticipating that this is going to be a low-scoring game based off the defenses?
Well, just like Thomas last night on my show, he saw a low-scoring 3-point game. I thought the same thing. As of right now, I'm standing by my prediction of 2017. And I'll just tease that for now. I won't tell you who yet. But I think this defensive front sevens for both teams are so good. I was telling Thomas last night in our show, Cameron Wake is the most underrated defensive player in the league now that DeAndre Levy gets love. He's better than DeAndre Levy, don't get me wrong, but DeAndre Levy at least gets some credit now. Cameron Wake he's toiling in utter obscurity out there, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's something I find very ridiculous too. As you actually probably saw me read my little end of the article naming him the Dolphins team MVP. Now, now looking further at the Dolphins defense compared to the Lions offense, the Dolphins linebackers have been improved from last year and even from the beginning of the year, but they still seem to have issues with these small, shifty running backs. How does Matthew Stafford and how do the Lions plan on getting their running backs into space?
Well, that's a good callback to your partner's question there about Joe Lombardi. One thing he actually started implementing last week that Scott Linehan used to use a lot more was the screen game. If your offensive line isn't going to be able to stop these guys from getting to the quarterbacks, run those screens. Theo Riddick has been he's broken out just a little bit this year in the limited role he's gotten. A healthy Reggie Bush, I've been very critical of Bush this year. I think he's starting to show the effects of 12, 16 years of running the ball. He's slowing down just a bit, but Theo Riddick is the guy I think that they'll really try to get out in space and try to get one-on-one with those linebackers.
All right, now as for the matchup in the secondary between Detroit's receivers and Miami's defensive backfields, do you really see the height of Detroit's wide receivers? Do you see that as an advantage over Miami's cornerbacks, or do you think that Miami's cornerbacks could at least play them somewhat to a draw?
Well, anytime you're talking about Calvin Johnson, a draw is a hard thing to come to. I think that's usually the ceiling that you're looking for with Calvin. And he just said, I believe it was today or yesterday, that he's never felt this healthy before at this time of the season. He's ready to go. He's had over a month of rest. I don't think that anybody can match up with him. As far as Golden Tate, obviously he's not a big guy. He's a small, shifty guy. He's still tough to cover. But that kind of comes into where Joseph Foria and attacking those safeties in the red zone especially, in 6'7", it's really tough to get after a 6'7" guy who can high point the ball as well as him. And, well, I'm just going to go ahead and say it now. I know a little bit about Louis Delmas. I watched him for a few years up in Detroit. Let me pose you guys a question. Are you guys concerned, as you probably know he's an emotional guy, or at least he very much was in Detroit. He's saying this is just another game. Are you worried about him being a little overamped, a little wanting to make that big hit and possibly biting on a double move?
It's something.
I don't. I think he'll play assignment football. And he doesn't even offer any insight to the Dolphins this year. They have a new offensive coordinator, so it's maybe he could offer some insight to the defense that they run, but I don't think he's going to do anything that's going to help the team out, or that's going to hurt the team.
The thing is, I really don't think he will, simply because so many of the players around him on that defense, are leaders that will be able to, keep him at an even keel and whatnot. So, I think even if he does, get a little bit too amped up, either a Brent Grimes or Cortland Finnegan or whoever, they'll be around to, kind of calm him down. So I don't think he'll do anything like too detrimental. And if he does, the effect's going to be minimized. He's not going to get kicked out of the game. Maybe it will be a penalty, but then they'll take him to the side and get him to cool down. One of the good things I like about this defense is they are so even keeled. I like the way that they are so even keeled. So
they don't have any bonehead penalties.
Yeah, it'll allow me to maybe clarify. I didn't mean that he would do something stupid like a late hit. At least in Detroit, as he's a very emotional player, he would have a tendency to go for that big hit, to get almost overly excited and take himself out of plays. I guess that's more what I meant.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen him do that as much. There have been a couple of instances. But for the most part, no, he just sticks to his assignment. He's really, I would say, of all the players on defense for the Dolphins, he's probably been like the 9th or 10th most important. He hasn't hurt them too much, but it's not like he's been like, he's been an upgrade. He's been an upgrade, but not, but not too big of an upgrade. But he hasn't been a detriment in any way, shape, or form.
No, and when you're running with Rashad Jones, as long as you're not screwing up, you're doing all right.
That's part of it, yes.
How do you feel about I guess the stable of running backs you guys now with Joique Bell, who I think he's a better player than Reggie Bush. I think he should be the starter over Reggie Bush, but this is where I have my theory that they have Reggie start just to make him happy, and they just go ahead and give all the snaps to Joique Bell.
Well, it's funny you bring that up. Nick, my co-host, and I on Lions Central Radio, we have a bet. I took Joique Bell would have more fantasy points this season than Reggie Bush, and that's right now. Bell is winning by about 10.
It's clockwork. Like us Dolphin fans, we know when Reggie Bush is going to get hurt, and we know how he's going to get hurt. It's always a sprained ankle, a knee injury that's gonna basically have him benched for a couple games, and then because I drafted Joique Bell over him because I knew this would happen. It's clockwork, literally, on when he got hurt. And so, I think, how do you feel about, would you want Joique Bell to be the starter or just keep changing him out?
Well, and here's the big concern is Joique Bell isn't a guy with any explosion. He's a good banger normally. He only has 3.2 yards per carry this year, so he hasn't done well, but I've also talked about the offensive line struggle to open up any holes. It doesn't really matter. But the guy that I would like to see, Theo Riddick again, going back to him, he's a Reggie Bush light. He's not Reggie Bush in his prime, but he's better than Reggie Bush now. And I think you're going to see more Theo Riddick, a little less Reggie Bush as we go forward. And if they have to sell Bush on it, maybe they sell it as we're just keeping you healthy for the playoffs, big guy.
Making you happy.
Yeah, exactly.
Got to rub the belly.
Yeah, exactly.
In these parts, we call that a maintenance program.
Yes.
I'm going to steal that. I like that.
When I see Matthew Stafford's dick in that locker room.
Whoa, Chris, come on.
What? Well, that came out of left field.
Maintenance program. When we talk about maintenance program.
Yes, no. That's our producer, ladies and gentlemen.
These things happen, right? That's why it's you got to love live radio. Things happen when you party naked. Apparently.
So, are you surprised at how Detroit's playing this year?
Well, somewhat. This has always been a team that's had the talent. It had a lot of talent. They've added some more depth. Debo has been a really nice fit for this team. Glover Quinn is playing much better than he did the year before, and he wasn't even bad last year. He's just allowed to play the free safety spot. So I think a lot of it is the new coordinators, the new coach, the even attitude is kind of it's really instilling this team a little bit of discipline, enough focus to do the small things that they have to do. Now, with all the injuries, I am surprised they're 6-2. The record of their opponents, though, for the first 8 games is something like 26, 36-1, I believe. So it's not that they've seen a lot of great competition. These next 3 weeks, starting with the Dolphins, are really going to tell the tale of this team.
That's almost scary. That's the same how similar that is to here in Miami, because these next 3 weeks, starting with Detroit, is going to really tell the tale with this team. Also down here, Ryan Tannehill is still a very polarizing figure, despite the fact that he's on a heck of a run and he just played his best game, but he's still a very polarizing figure. Is there that same type of polarization with Matthew Stafford in Detroit? And how do fans feel about him?
Oh God, yes. It's the preseason saw calls for Kellen Moore to be the starter over Matthew Stafford because he's more accurate. He's more even keeled. I mean, come on.
Heard that.
I'm a supporter of Stafford because he has all the skills. He has it all. He just can't put it together yet, and it's a little concerning because it's 6 years, but it is a new system. I think that he needs to learn what the right throws are, and he hasn't had, like I've said a few times, 4 or 5 of his top receiving options. So people are looking at the drop stats, but they're not paying attention to is if you take away 3 tipped off of receivers' hands interceptions, the guy only has 4 this year. He's living to fight another day. He's not losing the game for this team, and that's what they need right now. And as they integrate Calvin Johnson and whatnot, well, hopefully the Lions will see more games like they did against New York in the opening when they put up 35.
Yeah, because my thinking with Stafford is he's a volume passer. He'll have some games where you're caught up in it. You're like, man, look at those numbers. But then he'll have these throws like, what the hell are you doing?
Oh, yeah, his mechanics have been the biggest problem around here. They've been cleaned up a little bit, but he trusts his arm so much and he gets very skittish about the pass rush, whether it's there or not. When teams have gotten to him early, it's caused him to kind of throw off his back foot instead of stepping into it because, hey, I've got this cannon over here. I can just rifle it in there.
That Jay Cutler throw.
Yeah, and I've kind of said he's a little bit of Jay Cutler 2.0. He doesn't have meltdown games anymore like Jay Cutler. Plus, Cutler's, I think, 5 years older than him. Mm-hmm. So Cutler's a done deal. He is what he is. Stafford is getting a little bit better as far as, and I know everybody hates this term, but he's managing the game. He's not losing it for him, and I think as he learns more of the offense and as he gets his weapons back, he'll strike when he needs to, as he has against the Saints and the Falcons to kind of pull out these ridiculous 1-point wins.
All right, final question. Give us your prediction. You already gave us the score prediction. Let's see the team who wins.
Well, I guess I'm just not as gracious as you as to come on my show and give my fans what they want to hear. I think the Lions pull this out because it is a home game, because they had 2 weeks to kind of prepare. I don't know a lot about Joe Philbin. I don't know a lot about this Miami team as far as their makeup, but you're coming in off of 3 straight wins. You just smoked San Diego at home. There could be a little bit of flying high. Maybe they'll be ready, but I see a 2017 hard-fought battle with Detroit. With Detroit getting the win in the end.
All right. Well, Brandon, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for having me on the show yesterday, and thanks for coming on our show today. And have a good one, and we'll see what happens on Sunday. You can follow. Well, actually, before we officially score you out, why don't you tell everyone where we can find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Brandon Alisoglu. That's ALISOGLU. I look forward to plenty of angry tweets about what I just said.
All right, and also you can find him on Bleacher Report. He's the Lions game day correspondent, much like I am the Miami Dolphins game day correspondent. Thank you so much, Brandon.
Thank you,
man.
man.
Right, gentlemen. Have a good one.
And what an awesome guest.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to hear a completely different perspective from the team. Obviously, he knows more about the team than we do because he covers it. But it's pretty cool, and it's that a lot of our opinions are the same as his when it comes to Detroit, specifically.
Yeah, and also it goes to further show that really these two teams just couldn't be more similar.
They're identical. I was looking over the stats while he's talking, and it's the same thing. It's the same team.
Yeah, they're the same team. Now, yesterday I made the prediction on the Lions Central Radio that here was the score of the game that I predicted: 17-14, and I went with the Lions. I only went with the Lions. I went with the Lions because home field advantage and Caleb Sturgis.
Really, you're blaming it on a kicker?
Yeah, I'm blaming it on a kicker.
Okay.
I went.
Continue.
Yeah, I went with the fact that I really think that both defenses are going to have great days on Sunday.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very close game. It's not going to be this offensive explosion that I guess should be accustomed to seeing from a Detroit team.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be one of those where it's going to be pretty inefficient from both teams.
Yeah.
It's going to be boring. It's going to be frustrating.
Yeah, both teams will be frustrating. It will be inefficient, and I really, I'm really prepared for this. Where everyone's going to start doubting Ryan Tannehill next week.
So this is the week.
Yeah, but here's the thing. This is going to be it's not really his fault type of game.
Oh yeah, it's just where he doesn't play like he's played the past couple days, so we're just going to kind of be a little down on him.
We're going to be a little down on him, and then the really crazy ones are going to call for Matt Moore.
Because this is this Stafford is the tier that Tannehill, I guess, his ceiling is in. Is this?
Yes, but here's the thing: Stafford's not going to play that well either.
Yeah, and
I don't think.
And I don't like. My buddy texted me this earlier saying if the Dolphins beat Detroit, are Dolphin fans going to say Detroit's not good?
Yeah. We do that to ourselves.
I know I won't. But you know the people down here, and whether it's on Twitter or sports radio, I don't think they'll undermine. I don't think they'll. I guess lowball Detroit. I think we know what they are. They're a good team on the road, and a road win against Detroit is so much better to see.
It's solid. It's solid. It's a solid statement. It's nothing but a good win. There's no way that it could be a bad win because I know they've been turning just about every Dolphins win into a bad win. I remember after okay.
I think that's just a certain portion of the fan base.
Yeah, it is. But something to keep in mind: the Dolphins have, when you look at the records of all the teams the Dolphins have played, they have beaten who they're supposed to beat.
Yeah, without they lost to Green Bay and. If they beat Green Bay, then I think there'd be a little bit more spotlight on them. I saw a SportsCenter segment with them today, and it was very weird seeing it on a Wednesday at 11:30 in the afternoon with James Walker doing a hit from Davey. It was the weirdest thing seeing it.
Yeah, that was, but I don't watch ESPN all that much, so.
This is when I'm just sitting home, relaxing, when I'm, getting ready to start my day.
And you're just like.
I'm like, what in the hell is going on here?
What? They actually have James Walker talking?
Exactly.
On TV? And because usually whenever the Dolphins beat someone, it's been, what's wrong with that team?
We're like, Chicago stinks, Oakland stinks, Jacksonville stinks. It's always like that, and for the first time, we heard it down here in our local radio. That's a good San Diego team we beat, that the Dolphins beat.
And they didn't just beat them, they destroyed them, they throttled them. And this is a good Detroit team that they're going to play. And I do think they're going to lose this game. However, it's not going to be the type of loss that you should be ashamed of. And it's not going to be the type of loss where you call for Tannehill's job, people. It's just one good defense is going to play another good defense, and the defenses are going to wind up determining the game.
It's going to come down to a turnover.
A turnover and, Caleb Sturgis.
Yes, because of your prediction.
And with that, we bid ourselves adieu for this week
I'm
on
sorry,
Dolphin
guys.
Central Radio. Chris, why don't you tell them where we can find you?
You can find me in Pembroke Pines, Florida, in South Florida. But you can also find me online on Cochrane 1043. At Cochrane 1043.
And you can find me in the very beautiful village I grew up in called Kendall. And I'm being facetious when I say beautiful. Ever since they closed Flippers Arcade, it hasn't been. But that was 11 years ago. I'm still kind of suffering from that, but that was 11 years ago. Anyways, but you can find me online on Bleacher Report, where I'm the game day correspondent. And I will also be giving you my report card for the Dolphins midseason. That will come out tomorrow. And then Friday's the preview. Sunday, you have the game report card and the game live blog for Dolphins against the Lions. You can also find me on Twitter at Thomas Galicia. Be sure to follow the show on Twitter at Dolphin Central, because we're going to be doing some fun things on that Twitter. I'm not quite sure what it's going to be yet. And I'm thinking about maybe starting a Dolphin Central Radio Snapchat. No, never mind. I'm not going to do that. That would be stupid. But you can also find me on Reddit. Just get on Reddit in the Dolphins subreddit, and I'm pretty sure at some point you'll bump into something that I post or what someone posts from me. Once again, our thanks to Bleacher Report's Brandon Alessaglu for joining us on the show today, and our thanks for the show for existing, and for you, the fans, for listening. I'm Thomas Galicia for Chris Cochran saying, see you next week.